Cool.
Run that music.
We're back. Good day, everybody. I'm Steve McLean, the little
Good
red
day.
dog.
That sounds British.
Well, we record in the morning, so I don't want to confuse people and say good morning. So I kind of went down that. Yeah, that's why I chose good day for today.
Good day, love.
I stand by my choice. Good day, everybody. Plus, I've been watching The Crown. I'm not even going to ask you if you've been watching The Crown.
I've been seeing on the news that they did Princess Diana, and what does everyone think of that and all the drama behind it? But
well, I tell you, the reason why I think it's kind of fun, at least for me personally, is because growing up with that in that era in high school, I could have given a crap about it. I didn't understand why anyone in the United States cared.
The big royal wedding.
I thought it was stupid, and like why is any country following monarchs at this point?
Yeah.
Right. And so, but now after watching it, I have a lot of respect actually for the royal family, and you kind of figure out why, what they do now and why they're doing it, and it kind of makes sense. You have a lot, at least in my opinion, you have a lot of respect for Queen Elizabeth and Philip and the family. And but anyway,
holding on to that tradition.
Yeah, it's very weird. Obviously, it doesn't jive with the United States really. But again, I can kind of. You been watching it, Sam? No, Mackenzie.
With that endorsement.
Yeah, I think you should watch it. Mook, you've been watching it, or you were watching it, right?
Yeah, I haven't watched the new season.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, I digress as usual. Welcome back to the show, everybody. For the love of dog. Again, I'm Steve McLean, co-founder of Little Red Dog. I'm here with Gary. Gary is one of our head trainers, very knowledgeable, and here today to answer questions and go through fun dog behavior stuff.
Fun
stuff.
Dog facts.
Yeah, we just got off of a very ambitious streaming schedule yesterday. How many dogs?
19.
How many?
19.
19 dogs we showcased. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like a real adoption event, but one at a time. I think we put poor Nicole and Sam to the ringer yesterday.
I watched that. The editing's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, well, and they do all that stuff on the fly too.
Stuff filmed, in advance, and then.
No, they do such a great job. We couldn't do this.
Mackenzie takes her show on the road.
She does.
She should go make mimosas everywhere she goes.
Oh Lord. Anyway, the first part of the segment, we try to answer your questions. Right now, we're live on Instagram, so if anyone has a question, please text it, and we will answer your question while we're online. Otherwise, we're just going to shoot the shit and talk about crap that we want to talk about. One question we did get from last week that is kind of a popular question, and we probably don't spend enough time on it, because honestly, it doesn't happen that much in our rescue, and the question has to do with families wanting to know what they should do with their first dog. So in other words, families never had a dog before. They want to know, hey, how should we prepare? What's the top 5 things, say, that families should worry about when they bring a new dog into the household? Obviously.
This is a really broad category. Are we talking about they already got the dog, or like the selection process?
No, they're thinking about getting a dog.
They just learned about dog rescue.
Yeah, they just. So let's just say, we want you to adopt. We don't want you to go to a breeder. But let's just say the family is thinking about adopting, and they want to know, okay, flashing forward, what should we worry about? What should we work on? We've never had a dog before. Should we do positive reinforcement? Should we do, should we go to Petco or PetSmart for the basic dog obedience crap? Which I say no. So anyway, I want you to answer that and kind of give some people some inside tips and some pro tips too.
Okay. Well, let's start at the selection process.
Yes.
Picking a dog that's going to fit your lifestyle.
Don't use your eyes.
Yeah, don't use your eyes. So all dogs are cute in their own ways, like a baby, but, pick a dog that's going to fit your lifestyle. If you are a couch potato, then don't pick a don't pick a border collie. It's going to need an excessive amount of work. You're going to have to keep them active. You're going to have to walk them 2 times, great walks a day.
Right.
Get yourself a senior dog.
Oh, they're the best.
Senior dogs are already so dialed in. These are the dogs that basically are almost turnkey, where somebody with little to no dog experience can get this dog. Somebody's already put in the work.
Right.
The dog is naturally chilled out. They don't have all the crazy puppy hormones going.
And you can do everything wrong and you'll still be golden.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would probably be my first in the selection process. Pick a dog that's going to match you. And if you want a dog that's going to be easy, the older you get, the easier it's going to be.
Right. And so I always tell people that, but 95% of the time, they're like, no, we don't want a senior dog.
Yeah.
So they say, no, I don't want a senior dog. Then what?
Okay, well, you're still going to have to match up activity level.
Right.
The dog's needs to what you're willing to give, all of that stuff. So pick a dog that's going to match you. You're going to be able to give the dog what it needs. It's going to be able to give you what you need.
Right. So in other words, if you're a couch potato, to your credit, don't get a border collie.
Yeah.
Right. Don't get a working dog.
Yeah. And if you're a marathon runner who's got 4 kids who are high activity, and
right.
If it's that kind of house, then don't go get a dog that's really mellow, doesn't want to walk.
Right.
Don't get an English bulldog. He's not going to run with you.
Yeah, in fact, you'll kill him.
Yes, you will kill him.
Physically kill him if you make him run more than 5 yards.
Yeah. So that would be my first tip: is pick a dog that's going to match you.
Right.
So okay, now you've met the dog, you like the dog, you adopt the dog. Now you need to start. The first step is going to be letting the dog decompress.
Right.
Dog's going to come in. I always tell people that if I snatch you up in a white van and I take you to my house, it doesn't make us family, and it doesn't make my home your home.
Right.
So your dog's going to need to kind of get chill.
What kind of crap do you do at night here?
Yeah. I don't own a white van. So that's how I tell people. They're going to need time to decompress. So give them that time. And in this time, you're kind of learning the same language.
Right.
So you're starting to learn, my dog is going to do this. I'm going to do this. And what level you're going to come at your dog. So it's really important in the basic training point. when you get a dog, start setting boundaries right then.
Right.
What you want your dog to do in 10 years is going to be dictated on the boundaries that you set. So,
right.
You don't let the dog come in and, if you don't want your dog on the couch, let him on the couch.
Right.
You start setting your rules on day one.
Right.
And when you give the correction for something that they inevitably do, you're going to have to learn to set your correction at their level.
And I want you to explain to our listeners that maybe are thinking about getting a dog, and maybe they know very little about dogs, kind of get into the difference between positive reinforcement and having people focus on dog behavior, because it is two separate.
Yeah, they're opposite ends of the training spectrum.
And we do both, but I want you to explain the difference between.
So pure positive reinforcement is basically you are using a reward to get the dog to do something. So if the dog does something you don't want, you don't acknowledge that. You only reward the dog for things, and then the theory is that the dog will start to do things to get the reward, which is
usually food. Usually food. Yeah.
But the problem comes in that, it's hard for dogs to distinguish sometimes what the reward's for, and it's not necessarily the language that they use. It's something that humans have come up in our touchy-feely ways to be able to. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
To be able to, use our thinking to try to train dogs.
Right. The reason why I was going to high point that was, especially when it comes to food. The class that we took in Arizona online. Okay, and they talk about the very first study with animals. And was it ducks or birds, chicks? What was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was chicks. I think.
Yeah,
Let's say it was chicks.
Yeah,
and it was the first study showing that if a human feeds the chicks, then the chicks will pay attention to the human and ignore the mom. Was the basis of it's more complicated than that, but that's really the only or first animal test, right?
Yep.
So we've taken that as human beings, and we've applied that to all animals.
Yes.
Hence positive reinforcement. Sorry, that's why I wanted people to understand.
And at the far end of that, and the other study that they used in that was the hormone, the stress hormone, cortisol. Yeah, in the urine, that they found that giving dogs food rewards gave them higher cortisol stress levels than if you gave them a prong correction, a stern prong correction.
I'd love to dive. I want to dive into that one day more. But anyway,
so,
I made you digress.
There is side effects in using food as a reward,
right?
But forgot where I was going now.
I messed you up. Sorry.
You did.
I'm sorry. 100% my fault.
We're talking about positive reinforcement versus behavior therapy.
Right.
Yep. So
1, 2, 3, you owe me a Coke.
In it's natural. Like we showed the mama dog. video last week.
Right.
That's
dog behavior.
That's dog behavior.
That's the perfect example.
A dog sets a boundary. Mom set a boundary. Dog crossed it. Dog got an escalating correction.
Right.
That is all they do. There is no positive reinforcement. There's never a treat bag with mom. Mom never tells you, hey, great job. Here's a reward that you wouldn't get otherwise. It's like, congratulations, you did what I want. I'm going to give you the basic existence stuff you need to live.
Right. And so therefore, when we're teaching dog behavior to a family, basically what we're teaching is we're teaching the family, look, this is how dogs communicate. We're not working directly with the dog at that point.
No,
right?
I tell people I train people.
Exactly. So go ahead.
So that would be the difference in that, is that you're correcting a behavior in a way that a dog would, so it's natural to them. I use treats to get a dog to do something that they don't know already, to kind of bait them into it.
Right.
But you don't want to ever use a treat to get a dog to not do a behavior.
Right. And then, that is the number one mistake. Even with good dog trainers, I think they mess that up, in my opinion.
Yeah. So that's the problem. It really becomes hard for them to distinguish a reward at that point.
Right.
So equipment. Let's say you got your new puppy and now you need some equipment.
Right.
You know, we never, ever use a harness or a flexi leash. Not even for a puppy.
Right.
Not for a big dog, a little dog. Right. Nobody. With the exception of the English bulldog. I don't even use harnesses on French bulldogs. If it's a French bulldog that has behavioral pulling and I can't break it, then that's one thing. But if you put a French bulldog in a harness, it's going to pull like any other dog.
It's funny you say that because Mackenzie and PJ are thinking about adopting that Frenchie. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to walk her yesterday. And you know how much I hate harnesses.
Yep.
And this is a good dog. It's a very sweet dog. And I had holy hell trying to get that dog to walk. And it's funny because I meant to hop online today and ask the question, we know how horrible it is to put an English bulldog out of a harness. They have to have a harness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because of genetic
Physically,
reasons.
they have a short trachea that gets choked out by a collar.
Right, and that's all because of human manipulation. Yeah. But the Frenchie, I was going to Google and say, hey, do they have the exact same issues, or is it a little bit more tolerable? Because if we do adopt this dog, I do not want to have to walk this dog in a harness. Yeah. Anyway, as usual, I interrupted you.
Another middle ground I've used on that is that I will put a training collar on a dog, like an English bulldog even. Yeah. I'll put a training collar on him and keep the harness attached to my waist, so I'm not holding him back with that, but I can still give those corrections. Still correct.
That's a good idea. So that's a pro tip, everybody.
Pro tip. You got it here. So pick good hardware for your dog, Right. If your dog is chill, you went with that senior dog, you can probably get your dog a flat collar
and be golden.
Yes, and be golden.
For sure, a martingale.
So there we're going to escalate it. Yep, your dog needs a training collar. First step's a martingale, prong collar. You escalate from there depending on what it takes to redirect the dog. If you start the dog out in a harness, you're going to start teaching it those bad behaviors, and you're starting out on the wrong foot.
And I want to stop you right there. I know I keep interrupting you. It's part of my job.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would I be here?
Keeps me on task.
I want to explain it to everybody because even like you said, I love the fact that you said even if you have a little dog that weighs 5 pounds, it still needs to have something around its ears, close to its ears. I want everyone to understand that any decent dog trainer, we've talked about this before, you're not going to see even the best, even Cesar Millan, you're not going to see him use on social media or on video with a prong on any dog. You're not going to see it. But he uses them.
It's way too political.
Yeah, it's way too political. But I want everyone to understand they're perfectly safe.
Yes.
They just look horrible.
No, I tell people all the time, the deal with prong collars is it's like any other correction.
Yeah.
You can tell your kid to clean the room, or you can verbally abuse them. Two opposite ends of the same spectrum.
Right.
So if you use a prong collar correctly, you will knock down behaviors and it will work effectively.
And it's not abuse.
If you,
it's not abuse at all.
Your dog, is coming off a harness and pulls you, you put the dog in a prong collar and you're not giving it corrections, you're just letting it pull.
Yeah.
That's the verbal abuse side. Right. You are doing it wrong and it is going to be abusive to the dog.
And that's a great point. I get really irritated with people. They say, well, I used the prong, but it didn't help. Well, then you weren't taught how to use it correctly. Yeah.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's not simple.
No, it's not.
It's not simple at all. And the other thing too is, let's back this up even further. The only reason why we have to use a leash and a collar is because over the years human beings have been selfish and hey, I want a furry thing, but I don't want to take the time to raise it
Train
correctly.
and I don't want to chase it.
Yeah, so we're all forced. If you live in any kind of urban area, we have to use a leash and a collar, right? But I want everyone to understand that because of this condition, when we put the equipment on the dog, we're setting the dog up for failure.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So it's difficult because it's not really a natural thing.
Yep.
Right.
No, I always tell people when you train dogs, you in no way want to physically hold the dog back. You want the dog to make the decision to hold them back.
Right.
The collar and leash is designed to hold the dog back.
Right.
So innately, used incorrectly, that's why I clip it to my waist. I don't hold the leash. The dog isn't getting any programming from me. The dog is safe. I know the dog's not going to bolt or anything, but the dog is staying behind me because the dog wants to stay behind me.
Right.
So that is key to, using the leash is using it correctly and not using it as a crutch that you're holding the dog back and not letting the dog make its own decisions to do the right thing.
Right. And so explain to everyone too why it's so important that you take your dog outside and physically deal with it and walk it. Explain to people that don't know much about dogs and why that you have to do this.
Yeah, when you take a dog outside, it's putting them into school, basically. When you're inside your house, you're at your laziest point. You don't want to do anything. You don't have any distractions, nothing that interests you beyond what you want to be interested by. You go outside, now you have all the distractions. You have the sounds, the smells, everything that they can see. It's going out on the hunt for them.
Right.
So when you take the dog out on the hunt, all of their senses are racked up. So when you train a dog under that environment, you're training them at a harder level than if you bring them in the house when they don't have any of those distractions or anything.
Right.
So from the training aspects, it's important to get them into an environment that, has all of the things that, you're going to want them to behave under.
Right, right. And then what is your opinion on just the basic items that new pet owners should purchase inside or outside?
Honest, minimal stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it simple.
Yeah. You don't need a fancy dog bed. Your dog will lay on a rug.
Yeah.
You can go as high as you want with it, but the basic thing is that your dog only needs food, water, structure. That's all the dog needs.
Right. I love the people when they buy, they go into PetSmart and they buy like a case full of toys.
Yes, no, it's a ton of toys, 2 dog beds, 14 dog crates, one for every room.
Don't look at my office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dog's got a spot. He doesn't have a bed in the living room. He's got a crate.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I've got we had 4 dogs. I've got 4 tennis balls, and technically I just need 1 tennis ball. But yeah, that's it. That's all they get, and they're fine with it, right?
Yeah.
They don't care.
They don't.
All right. So, yes.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes, Mackenzie has a question.
Can we go back to before you even adopt the dog? One of our main questions is about dog behavior on our application. What can a potential adopter do to research, or what can they do to make sure they answer that question correctly without owning a dog before?
So I don't know if you heard the question, but basically people are wanting to know before they adopt a dog.
We ask them on the application, what dog behavior do you know?
Right.
So if you've never had a dog, what can you do to obtain this dog behavior?
And what would you say?
Watch Caesar Milan.
Yeah. I would love to say watch all our videos, but we only have a couple up, so we're not quite as big as Caesar.
So, Caesar's got a ton of videos. He can show you a dog in any situation, and it's really going to be the system that I use, Dog does something you don't like, it gets a correction from a hard stare to a pop to, whatever level we have to go up to.
Right.
So he'll show you, he's got, because he has the ability and the finances to go anywhere and film and he has a lot of great examples.
Yeah, if you go, and to our credit, if you go to our website, you do see, I think we do a very good job so that people can see how to redirect your dog when it's doing something stupid.
Yep. No, I've tried to stick up a few too, and evaluations and how to do a parallel walk and all of that stuff as well.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. The net is, as we wrap this up, the net is basically, the number one thing that you need to start learning, and it's kind of a brain change, is you need to figure out how to be a good leader, consistent, calm, confident leader to your dog, which is a little bit different than being a leader with human beings.
Yep.
There's some things that intersect. But if you can be a good leader and keep it calm, you're going to be golden.
Well, I'm going to go one step further back.
Yeah, go ahead.
And challenge people to come outside themselves in this selection process, because that is probably one of the biggest things that I see, is that people have these preconceived notions about the kind of dog that they need to get. Really come in, educate yourself on dog behavior, dog breeds, and if you're seriously considering one, do your research, and you'll end up with a dog that you'll have, for their whole life.
That's a good point. And as we close out, I think everyone has to remember that Lassie didn't become Lassie. It took a lot of work.
Yeah.
You don't get a dog and it's just the best dog ever. You have to put the work in.
Yep.
Right. Thanks, Gary. When we'll return, we will be on set with PJ, our founder.
Woo! The boss woman.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in for the Love of Dog. Totally good news. New Road is back with their food. However, it's only treats. That's okay. We love the treats. You saw Gary try them months ago. Either way, doesn't matter. They're great. They're terrific. Treats only. The promo code is REDDOG15, all caps. Type that in when you're ordering. You get a discount, plus we get a little bit of a donation. We love it. Please check it out. New Road. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome to For the Love of Dog, our podcast for the little red dog. I'm your host, PJ Rosh. We have Reiki Master Cora Baker here from Evergreen Paws. Welcome, Cora.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So let's just dive right in, because I think today will be really interesting for our listeners. So can you explain what a Reiki Master is for somebody who's never heard of it?
Yeah, so Reiki is a form of energy healing. It's been done for centuries, and there's a lot of different names for it, but Reiki is the Japanese word, and it basically just means universal life force energy. So that refers to the energy that flows through all beings that make us conscious. And Reiki Master is somebody who uses that energy field to promote healing through channeling energy and facilitating the body, facilitating intense relaxation for the body, so that way it can heal itself.
Sounds like something we all need. You work with animals, which is really cool, and you're kind of like a healthcare provider, just like a vet or a trainer or somebody that can really get in touch with the animals. So how did you get into that? Like, what did you have to, is that something that you're just born with, or do you study, or how does that work?
I think a little bit of everything. I've always really loved animals and had a very intense connection to them, all the way down to like my lifestyle, being vegan and like an animal rights activist. And then I've always just been very empathetic towards animals, and but it really started with our dog Oliver, because when I first met my fiance Grant, he had this little rescue Chihuahua Oliver, and like many rescues, we have no idea what happened to him before, and he just had so much trauma and was just terrified, and nobody could train him. He was just like totally in his own world and just scared constantly. And so I tried to train him in a traditional sense, and it just wasn't working. And I started to implement some of my own energy healing techniques to connect with him, creating calming rituals for him throughout our day, to kind of just get on his level and just let him know that he was safe, and also just love him in a way that he'd never been loved before. And it worked literally like magic. It was incredible, and we had amazing results very quickly, actually. And and then I fell into a program with holistic dog care and holistic pet specialist, because before this I was doing more like dog walking and pet sitting. And and my teacher actually recommended that I look into Reiki, and he said I would be good at it. And it turned out to be something that just came really naturally to me. And then I did the training, and and here we are now. So Oliver's doing great.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that Oliver's doing well. So, what kind of calming rituals were you using with Oliver, just in case there's anybody out there with a Chihuahua like myself who needs some help?
Yeah, so one thing we would do is Oliver used to have extreme separation anxiety, and whenever we'd leave the house, he would, bark and pee all over the house and just freak out. So he was crate trained, but he had a very unhealthy relationship with his crate. So what we would do is whenever we would leave the house, we would make sure that he was in a very calm and tired state. So, make sure that we walk him beforehand, make sure that we didn't play with him right before we leave, and just kind of be very calm yourself. And then I would have him lay down and I would just sit with him, and it only takes 5 minutes or so before you go. And I would just sit with him before we left, and I would put the lights down low, and I would put on some calming music. Music is very powerful to animals and many humans, but it's very powerful in helping animals. And yeah, I would just sit with him, and I would put my hands on him. And Reiki typically uses it's the laying on of hands, the healing of hands, but anybody can do it. Its touch feels very good to everybody. So we all have Reiki. So I would just, lay my hands on him and sit with him until he got sleepy and calm. And then slowly I would start to leave. And then if he started to rile up, I would come back and I would just take my time with him, and I would just give him as much space as he needed. And I think that's very important for us to remember, is to work with our dogs. And dog training and working with your dog is all about communication. It's not about forcing them to do whatever you need them to do. It's all about talking to them and finding a language that you can share.
Yeah, you're right. That can be very powerful. So have you had any particular hard cases that you have worked with, and maybe you want to talk about that?
Oh man.
Or any cases?
Yeah, I have a lot of cases. I work with a few dogs. One of my specialties is working with dogs who have extreme trauma, who just can't even approach somebody that they can stand to be around, and they just have zero trust. So I could think of a couple. One simple one was a dog that I was taking care of because she was just so traumatized. She couldn't trust anybody except for her mom, and she had to go out of town for a family emergency. So I was there, and this poor dog, she barked at me for an hour straight, just constant fear, the most fear you could get. And most dogs, they'll bark for a minute, but then they'll stop. But she just couldn't stop. She was frozen. And I just went in and I sat down and I didn't look at her. And I just opened up my channels and I laid my hands out on my knees. And I just closed my eyes and I let the Reiki flow. And within about 5 minutes, she stopped barking. And within about 7 minutes, she started to sniff me. And I put some cheese in my hands and had my eyes closed. And, within about 10 minutes, she was coming up to me. She was eating the treats out of my hand, which is amazing for a dog who's that afraid. And after that, I sat there for about 30 minutes. And after that, she trusted me, and she came, and she loved that healing. Animals come very naturally to Reiki because they don't know words or anything. They know energy. And she was just she was like butter after that. And every time she saw me after that, she just came right up and was she loved to be up against me. And it was just so calming to her. And that was one of the first times I used Reiki for a dog. And it blew my mind. But that was great. And another time, I also work with a lot of dogs with health concerns, with cancer, arthritis, diabetes, any type of health ailment, because Reiki is great for body, mind, and spirit. And a lot of people kind of ignore their dog's spirit. So it really makes them feel seen in a way that they don't normally get seen. And so I had a dog who had a neurological disorder, and it caused her to become paralyzed from the waist down. So she couldn't use her back legs. And, she's a little older. She's a senior dog. She's a Chiweenie, and she's about, 14. So the vet was kind of like, seems like this is kind of it for her. She's never going to walk again. They tried a few things, but, steroid treatment, a lot of medication, but it just wasn't going very well. So her parents decided to stop doing the treatment, and they decided to just do the Reiki. Because Reiki is a good complementary form of healing. So you do it often alongside Western medicine. So like you don't have to stop treating your pet just to do Reiki. But in this case, she was on her way out. So they were like, okay, we don't want to bother her anymore. She can't walk. She's never going to walk again. She's incontinent. We give up basically. And it was really hard for me too. But we started doing the Reiki, every week, and it's been absolutely miraculous. So she had about 2 months to live, according to the vet, and it's been about 1.5 years now.
Wow.
And she's walking again.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's just been like unbelievable. It relieves so much inflammation, and it helped her energy flow again, and it helped her brain flow again, and it really helps reset the neurons in her brain. And, over time we just worked up to it, and that one to me is just one of the most powerful experiences that I had.
It sounds pretty amazing, and obviously probably a big comfort to the pet owner, because they were trying everything, and that's one of the things that we all struggle with is what's the right time to let somebody go. But that's awesome that you were able to get her to walk and that she's still around. That's great.
Yeah, and also on that note, Reiki is amazing because it also opened my channels up to a lot of other forms of energy healing and things that I don't know what the name is, but gives me access to another world. But I do a lot of end-of-life transitions for dogs and cats, where I can go in and I can see, if it's time, and they can give me a message to give back to their parents, letting them know like one thing before they go, or I've had angels come in and, help. And one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen is during an end-of-life transition, I lead them through a guided meditation. I do Reiki for humans as well. And normally you have a meditation, but for dogs, I just visualize it, and I can see them there with me. And, just walking up, and there's an ocean surrounded by the forest, and every end-of-life transition that I've seen they go to this ocean, this one spot, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I've been able to witness their souls, ascending, and angels, and the heavens, and things I didn't even believe in before I saw it. Just coming down and rejoicing, and like realizing it's really helped my relationship with death, and realizing that, their bodies are no longer useful because their souls have upgraded to a point where they've grown out of it. Like, it's literally all it is. Their bodies are no longer useful to them, and they go up into the heavens, and they're so free. And it helps so many people immensely deal with the death of their pet, because they're okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like I said, I'm sure that is a comfort, because as a pet parent, we have to struggle with that, and no one wants to make that decision. So I'm sure it's helpful and very comforting to know that their spirits are being taken care of. So that's a very important thing that you do. That's awesome. So you mentioned you work with humans too. So was that a same kind of class, or did you have to take a pet class and a human class? Like, how does that work?
Well, thankfully, all energy is the same. So you just learn Reiki, and if you can do Reiki, then you can do it for a plant, a rock, an animal, or a human. So. Okay. There are different techniques. We do have different chakra centers, like energy centers in our bodies. So I got trained for human Reiki, and I've been doing that for a while, and I just recently officially opened a business called Evergreen Illumination to help the human side of things. And I do a lot. My favorite thing to do is combination sessions, so a pet and their owner. and it really helps with a lot of emotional healing as well as physical healing. So, but yeah, it's pretty magical.
That's awesome. So again, we're talking to Cora Baker. She is the Reiki master. You can find her, or the name of the company is Evergreen Illumination for Humans, or Evergreen Paws for your pets. And where can people find you if they're interested in learning more or hiring you?
I have Instagram, Evergreen Paws, and also Evergreen Illumination. And then I have a website for Evergreen Paws. It's just evergreen-paws.com.
Okay.
And the website for Evergreen Illumination is launching pretty soon. But that's a good place to reach me for now, is Instagram or the Evergreen Paws website.
Okay, very cool. Well, check her out. She is obviously very in tune and very sweet, and can help you and your dog. So, or your pet. Doesn't have to be a dog. I know this is for the love of dog, but we like cats and other animals too. So check out Cora. Cora, thank you so much for being with us. This was awesome and very informative. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. You have a great day. Take care. That's it for us. It's another edition for Love of the Dog. Thank you for listening. Subscribe and check out Cora.